Good morning, my all dear students. So, here let's begin with part 2, chapter 4, Materials, Metals and Non-Metals, class 8, Science. I hope you will enjoy. Let's begin. So, in our first part, we had discussed about the chemical properties of metals and non-metals. In that, the metals and non-metal, how do they react with the oxygen as well as the water. Now let's go ahead. Now let's talk about how metal reacts with the acid and non-metal reacts with the acid. Now here in this activity you have to take certain precautions like keep the mouth of test tube away from your face. Use the test tube holder to hold the test tube. So these are the warnings that we have to take care while performing this activity in the lab. Let's go ahead. So let's begin. Now take the samples of metals and non-metals in the separate test tubes. All the test tubes we will label them as A, B, C, D and F. With the help of dropper, add 5 ml of dilute hydrochloric acid, which is HCl, to each test tube one by one. Now observe the reaction carefully. If no reaction occurs in a cold solution, little bit you warm the test tube gently. Bring the burning matchstick near to the mouth of each test tube. Repeat the same activity using dilute sulfuric acid instead of dilute hydrochloric acid and record your observation. So, did you find any difference the way metal and non-metal react with the acid? Now for that we need to perform an activity, but let's illustrate the activity here. What could be the pop sound in some cases be due to when a burning matchstick is brought near the mouth of test tube. Now let me tell you, all the metals will react with the acids and they will displace us. Displace, that means they will take the hydrogen from the acid and they will send it out. For example, sodium react with hydrochloric acid, will form sodium chloride and hydrogen gas will be removed out. So this hydrogen gas will come out as the pop-up sound if we'll bring the burning matchstick near the mouth of the test tube. Now you must have found that non-metals generally do not react with the acid, but metals react with the acid and produce the hydrogen gas that burns with the pop sound. You must have noticed that the copper does not react with the dilute hydrochloric acid. So for that case, you have to either warm the acid or you have to take the sulfuric acid. Now next activity to be demonstrated by the teacher only, and we have to take care while working in the lab and while dealing with the concentrated acid and the alkalis. Now this is the activity here. This is very important activity that we are performing here. We are doing a displacement reaction, and in doing the displacement reaction we will see that how nicely they react with one another, like the metals react with the acids and the non-metal reacts with the acid, or do they show some displacement? Let's check it out. Now prepare a fresh solution of sodium hydroxide in a test tube by dissolving 3 to 4 pallets of sodium hydroxide in 5 ml of distilled water. Drop a piece of aluminium foil in it. Bring the burning matchstick near the mouth of test tube. Observe it carefully. You will realize that the alkalis are not sufficient enough to replace the metals which are there, or you can say that they are not reacting with the metals. So whenever the displacement reaction takes place, that is only taking place in the presence of acid, not in the presence of alkali. Now These are the beakers. You can see A, B, C, D, E. Now our next activity will tell you what we are supposed to do with this activity. Now beaker A, there is a copper sulfate and the zinc granules are there. Beaker B, copper sulfate and iron nail is there. Beaker C, zinc sulfate and copper turnings or copper powder is there. Iron sulfate, beaker D with the copper turnings, and zinc sulfate and the iron nail. Now here you can see that I have taken copper sulfate, zinc sulfate, ferrous sulfate solutions, and I am trying to add a metal to the beakers. And let's see whether this metal can displace the given solution or not. Now for displacement, that metal must be the highly reactive. That means it is so powerful that it can displace that given metal in the solution and form a new substance. So here let's have a look. Now you can see that the first two beakers, beaker A, that is having copper sulfate solution, and beaker B is having copper sulfate solution. Now whenever I add a zinc granule to the copper sulfate, zinc is more powerful and it will displace the copper. So copper will settle down and new substance zinc sulfate is formed. Similarly in beaker B, iron will displace copper from copper sulfate and form ferrous sulfate, new solution, and copper will be settled down, it will settle down at the base. Now beaker C, zinc sulfate and copper is there. Now copper is not that strong to displace the zinc. Similarly beaker D, again copper and iron is taken, so copper is not capable enough to displace the iron from iron sulfate. And the last beaker E, iron nail and the zinc. Now iron is not that reactive that it can displace zinc. So beaker C, D and E shows no reaction, or you can say there is no displacement reaction taking place in beaker C, D and E. But beaker A and B, here zinc and iron are more reactive than the copper, so they will displace the copper from the copper sulfate solution. You can see the observation I have shown here in the figure. The first two beaker even changes the color because new product is formed. Yes, correct. But the last three beaker, there is no change. There is no change, and because whatever the metal you have added, that was not capable enough to make the displacement happen. Now, so this was the displacement reaction. So what is the displacement reaction? The highly active metal displaces the least active metal. So you can see here, these are the observation which we have already discussed, that copper is least reactive. So zinc and iron has displaces the copper. On the other hand, zinc is more powerful than the copper, so copper cannot displace the zinc from the zinc sulfate solution. You can see the other observations which are given here, which I have already explained to you. See, the rule is here that zinc is more reactive than the copper and the iron. So a more reactive metal can replace a less reactive metal, but a less reactive one cannot replace the more reactive metal. If you want to remember this, what will you do? You know, in your school, the powerful one wins, correct? You give a place to the powerful person. Now, what is the meaning of powerful? So if teacher comes next to you, you will make some place for your teacher because you respect her. She is more powerful in terms of knowledge or respectful. So you just make a place for her because she is more active than you or more powerful than you. So more powerful metal always replaces the less powerful metal. Now let's talk about, after discussing chemical property, let's talk about the uses of metals and non-metal. Now when you see in your surroundings, you will find the n number of metals and the non-metals. You should be able to guess why metals are used in making machineries, because they are malleable. Automobiles, because they can withstand high amount of heat. aeroplanes because they are sturdy and hard, trains, satellites, industrial gadgets, cooking utensils, water boilers, etc. because this all require certain properties, and these properties are possessed by these metals. So you are also familiar with the uses of some non-metal. Now most important non-metal, as I already discussed with you, it is the oxygen and the carbon dioxide that is taken by the plant, and in return plant are giving us oxygen and the food by the process of photosynthesis. Now here are some interesting ones. We are sure that you will guess them right. Non-metal essential for our life, which all living being inhale during the breathing. So which is that non-metal? That is oxygen. Second, non-metals useful in the fertilizer to enhance the growth of plant. Of course, nitrogen. Non-metal used in the water purification process, that is chlorine. You must have seen that the huge swimming pools and the huge water tanks are disinfected using chlorine tablets. Non-metal used in the purple color solution, which is applied on the wounds as an antiseptic. Now that is, you will find out, that is a yellow color non-metal that you are supposed to answer me in my doubt session, because the others you can easily answer, but this you have to find out. You just figure it out which is that non-metal which we apply on the wound as the antiseptic. Non-metal used in the crackers. So yes, they are sulfur and the phosphorus because they have the explosion property. You may add more and more uses of metals and non-metals in your experiences, because bridges you need aluminium and the iron. Utensils you need nickel, chromium and the iron and the copper. So n number of examples could be given when you talk about the metals and the non-metal and their uses. Now elements. You have learned that in the chemical reaction, new substances are formed with the new property. So this substance are different from those which underwent the reactions. Now if a substance cannot be broken down further by the chemical reaction or by cooling, by heating or by the electrolysis, it is called the element. Now sulfur is an element, so as an iron. Carbon too is an element. So the smallest unit of element is an atom. A sample of an element contain only one kind of atom. So elements are made up of their own kinds of atom, like chlorine element, that is made up of 2 chlorine atom. Hydrogen made up of 2 hydrogen. Sulfur made up of 8 sulfur atoms. So the atom of an element remain unaffected physical change in the elements. For example, an atom of liquid sulfur would be exactly same as the atom of solid or the vapor state. Even if you change their states from liquid to solid or from solid to gas, their atoms do not change their property. They remain intact. Although we have infinite variety of substance in the universe, the number of elements forming these substances is limited. There are so far 118 elements so far discovered. We are going to study about them in detail next year. There are no more than 92 naturally occurring elements. There are almost 92 elements which are occurring naturally. An important classification of the element in terms of metals and non-metal. Most of the elements are metal. Less than 20 are non-metals and few are metalloids. Now what are the metalloids? The one which contain the properties of metal as well as non-metal, which possesses the characteristics of both metals and non-metals, are known as metalloids. Now these are the keywords that you are supposed to write after seeing this presentation and the PDF that you will receive. Atoms, conductor, displacement reaction, ductility, elements, hardness, malleability, metals, metalloids, non-metals and the sonorous. So these are the keywords that you can use as a glossary. You can write just after the textual exercise. Now if any question, just note it down. You can ask me in the doubt session. So I hope you have understood chapter 4, metals and non-metals. Major hint, read the chapter thoroughly. Go through the presentations twice at least. Then write down the textual exercise provided in the PDF in your notebook. memorize all the question answers and ask your doubt in the doubt solving session. Bye bye. Bye bye children. Have a nice day. Take care. See you soon with the new chapter.